This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
And Jumbo, good afternoon, everyone. Another lovely afternoon out here in the Masai Mara, and we have lots of nimbostratus clouds, which means we might get some rain. Welcome to your afternoon live safari, live from the African wilderness. My name is Isaac. Jumbo, everyone. Another lovely afternoon, and I'm here in the plains of Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle, surrounded by different types of clouds, from nimbostratus to cumulonimbus. Jumbo, my name is Isaac, and on camera we have Bungei. Our mission is to find those river pride lionesses and see if they made some lunch or dinner. Apart from that, anything that comes my way is a bonus. This afternoon, remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. You can also send in your kids' question at wildearth.tv and also at FC. Looks like we might not get rain this afternoon. The weather is beautiful, and hopefully, we'll get to see those lionesses do something for us. I'm at the marsh, and there is nothing in sight where I am, but definitely when I get deeper, maybe there will be something. But I'm just loving this afternoon weather. While I continue on, let's take you to another live location.
Isaac, I think I'm enjoying the weather this afternoon too. It's a really, really lovely temperature. 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think the impala are loving it too. The other days when we had really hot weather, they were all just bunched up in the shade of the marula trees. Now they can be anywhere and still be happy and be cool. Isn't that nice for them? Well, of course, they'll still bunch up, though, because they herd animals. Hi, everyone. It's me, TRISHALA, and I have Gert on camera with me this afternoon. And we are, at the moment, just looking out on quarantine. Nothing, no signs or anything like that just yet. Although I did think that I heard some ground hornbills in the distance. But for now, we're just having a look at the impalas and how wonderful and green everything is. Well, today I feel a little bit leopardy, and that's because it was so close this morning, and I feel like we just escaped us. So I'm going to try back down in the Mulwati, see if Tlalamba crossed back at any point. Check out the usual haunts, look out for any small creatures. Hi, Fiona. You'd like to know what the easiest animal to find in this weather is? Well, the easiest animal to find in general is an impala, a hornbill, and a starling. In fact, is the correct word there. Those three are the easiest to find at any time. And it's a really, really hot day, or the weather is really, really bad when you struggle to find those three. Oh, the other thing I'm looking for? Fiona, I don't know why you triggered me to remember it, but I'm looking for elephants. It's been such a long time. Too long. Far too long. So I may have to scout out the dams. Try and find us some elephants. Rosalind, you'd like to know how much impalas eat daily? I actually don't know how much they eat daily. They eat constantly, but also they're ruminants. So once their stomach is full, they can't just overeat, because once their stomach is full, they have to re-chew and then swallow again. So the whole digestion process takes longer. But I would say that it's definitely under 10 kgs, probably under 5 kgs for them per day. If you think about the largest ruminant, the giraffe eats about 37 to 40 kgs per day. And he is massive, or she is massive. But they're constantly eating, like all herbivores. But a good rule, as always, with mammals is 5% of their body weight daily. That's generally a good rule. A hippo is an exception to that, with about 3.5% of its body weight that it consumes daily. I'm just calculating my own, and that seems pretty right. Maybe a little bit more than I expected, but it seems right. No, I will not reveal that information to you. I'm sure you're all calculating what 5% of your own body weight is too. I'm wondering if you really eat that much. That's what I thought the first time I calculated mine. But when you think about it as consumption, it's not dry weight or anything like that. It's wet weight. So it does make sense. All the impalas look so lovely and calm. And considering the wind, that tells me that there's probably no predators nearby. Desiree, you say, what beautiful scenery. It really is. We get spoilt here with the feast that our eyes get. Definitely not 5% of their body weight. They get absolutely feasted. Taking all this beautiful scenery, and every single thing is stunning if we just take the time to look at it properly. Look at this one. What's up, you? See what I did there? I'm sure you all laughed. I laughed. Carrot laughed. If you didn't know, it's because female impalas are called ewes, but that's E-W-E. We saw one ewe that was fixated on a termite mound. I wonder if it's the same one. This one is now fixated on something else. Oh, look at that. Male and female next to each other. I can hear dung beetles, I can hear the woodland kingfisher, all our usual suspects, as well as, of course, the starlings. Catty, you'd like to know how long they can live for? They live for a maximum of about 12 years. I find out here with medium-sized mammals, 12 to 15 years seems like, or 10 to 15 years rather, to group a few more in. Seems like the average for a medium-sized animal. These two obviously know that they're being filmed. Dawn Owl, you'd like to know, where are all the lambs? That is an excellent question. Well, also, the whole herd has moved away and these two are stuck around. Look at that, it's like a mirror. Except the mirror is showing the ones that are standing up what they should be doing. Have their heads down and eating. The lambs are most likely in a creche. Creche is a group of youngsters that all hang out together, and a few adults will tend to them. It doesn't have to be the parent of the lamb, because there will be several in that group, and we'll start to see a lot bigger creches now. The maximum I've seen is about 6 or 7 of them together. You'll see even larger creches, and they'll all stick together like that. There's no need for them to be bouncing about, especially in weather like this, where the other impalas might be a little bit nervous. I don't want to put their little ones at risk. Lovely, lovely. As we said, beautiful scenery, and we'll continue to see this throughout the drive, and I'll also look for, like I said, something spotty and something very, very, very big.
Well, good luck, Trish. Well, I'm here at the marsh. I've risked to come here. Hopefully I don't get stuck or become a marshmallow or join the marshmallow club. But the reason is there is a lot and lots of tiny elephants that on my way to looking for my River Pride lions, I decided to come and investigate if maybe we have how many young ones. But I've come across these 2 teenagers that are really having a good time. I think too much food sometimes is not very good for these animals, because they become very active, although it's also necessary. Here, skills that are very useful years to come are gained, and tactics, also respect is earned, and so it is necessary. Might look sometimes serious, but it's just finding that space in many. You are looking at 2 elephant bulls, young ones, and they're play fighting. Sometimes it gets serious, although there's never, casualties or fatality. Always whoever is beaten leaves and leaves the other one to celebrate. Sometimes it cools down, like right now, then all of a sudden it picks. Yeah, like right now it's gonna go again. Look at that. Yeah. Sometimes it looks very soft, but the amount of strength used there is quite a lot. Not to me. Come back, kid. Can they hear or see me? Definitely they can hear me. Elephant have got amazing hearing, and from that distance it's easy. If the wind is blowing towards them, definitely they can hear me very, very well. Seeing me? No. Their eyesight is not very good. They use more smelling and hearing. There's elephants everywhere right at the marsh here. Lots of small herds spotted here and there. As you can see, they're starting to come back to the marsh. There's also lots of elephants. And this morning I saw two very new ones. They were born last night. Unfortunately, they were in tall grass, so we could not fully see them, but you can see there is one tiny one there. Let's see how small it is, but we've been lucky to see lots of little ones. Yeah, it's quite small. Yeah, I think in a few years, this is the most young ones I've seen, and it's good news. And also I think it's a result of many factors, from good rains and seasons to protection. Yeah, remember, elephants are constantly eating. They are hindgut fermenters, which means their food takes a little bit more time to go through, but most of it is quite, the nutrients are taken out. Well, the food might not be properly chewed, but the nutrients inside are usually quite taken out. Takes about 4 days. Yeah, okay, I think, yeah, there's a male chasing female. Usually that is how they start. The female usually takes off, and always the male in hot pursuit, and eventually she stops and the mating starts. That male looks like he's too big and he cannot run in the marsh, so he's trying to walk. It might look like a very small female, but I think it's ready. It's about 13 years. Yeah, didn't hear that question. Yeah. Donay, how far are the elephants from plantation? Well, I don't know which plantation you refer to, or maybe you mean the farmland. Yeah, from where we are to where, there's human habitated, and also where there's plantation is quite a long way. It's about 30 miles. It's quite a long way. But the nearby villages is only about 10 miles in that direction west. So, but if it's grass, the grass is everywhere, or the marsh is just behind there. Looks like there is something just about to happen, or something is happening. You can tell that most of them have stood still. Nothing much is happening. Most of them, there's just a big male wandering in the middle. Everybody else is still. I don't know if he's talking to them and they're listening. It is quite amazing, to see elephants do something out of the blue, and that's what has made me to believe that the infrasound actually exists. This morning I was observing a few bulls that were wandering at a distance, and then all of a sudden they turned and started running towards another direction. When I drove there, there was actually a male trying to mate with the female. I think it's the same female that's here, and I was actually quite chuffed to see that. I think that female there is very small. It will be very interesting if that big male tries to mount her. It's very, very small. Yeah, there's quite a good number of males here. The farthest one behind. That please, do elephants see color? No, they don't. It's one of those animals that don't see in color. Animals that see in color are mainly most birds, primates, and giraffes. All the other animals are, colorblind. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear the rumbling. Yeah, that male definitely is checking the females. This is a perfect spot to be in for elephants. There is plenty to eat and it's very soft. Yeah, I'll leave you to enjoy that view for a little bit more while we take you to another area.
Jambo and welcome to the other side of the Masai Mara. We have one of the winners up on a termite mound and looks like maybe they were on a walk. My name is Tim and behind camera we have Big James. It's that time of the day when these lions might want to go for food. And it looks like they might have been hunting and then failed. And then that's the reason why she came up on this termite mound. She looks a little bit skinny, so that she's not eaten for quite a while. The other lioness is just lying below her on the grass. When the grass is this tall, they have to look for a place where they can have a sentinel or just a 360-degree angle where they can look over and search for prey. Look at how she's looking around. You can see the second lioness just below the termite mound. Oh, and it looks like there's a cub next to her. So nice. She's scanning around, she's checking for game. We have no games around here, so the only present animals here are the warthogs. So when the grass is this tall, most herbivores avoid the grassy areas where the grass is too tall because they know that predators will be hiding and it's hard for them to scan or watch around. Warthogs have the permanent burrows, so these lions will be walking over trying to look for warthogs. Sometimes when it's too tough to find game, you can see them digging the warthog burrows to get the warthogs out. Jackson, what pride is she from? She's from the Owino pride. This is one of the Owinos, and this is where we normally find them. They're very sharp eyes, so I'm sure she might be seeing something, but she's getting some energy back or relaxing before she's on the move again. You can see how she's scanning both sides. And once she locates prey, she'll head that direction. You can tell she's looking so hard to find for prey. These lions might be on a mission, and looks like she's scanning for game and wants to make a move. So I'm going to hang around here for a little while because the sun is still hot. She can still rest here for a little bit as I take you over to another live location.
Well, the lions in Masai Mara do have a window where they really have to tough it up, and it is now. Unlike them, the elephants are having a very good time. Yeah, well, the bulls have left that area, and now I'm left with all the females and the youngsters walking deeper into the marsh. I think it's a nice place to start feeding, and so the young ones might like the grass even more here because it is very soft. Elephants are starting to come back to the marsh. It is a place they normally reside for most of the year. It's always got water, enough mud to wallow, and even plenty of grass. We have more of them. Over there looks like there is a few bulls that are, I think, checking each other out, because there is some female that everybody is interested in. But there's also two young ones that are trying to get away from the bulls. Well, bulls are not aggressive towards the young ones in any way. They normally pass them without any issues. Yeah, big herds looks like they're coming together. I think they feel safe when they're all together.
Welcome back to where the owinos are still sleeping, and you can tell that that's a nice spot, although she's panting heavily. It's too hot for her, but then she can get some breeze because it's actually raised. This is a big termite mound. Just look at her paws. The other ones are still sleeping. It looks like she's the lead lioness, and when she makes the move, the rest will follow her. The reason why game avoid grassy area when this grass is that tall is because of this. You can hardly tell if there's lions hiding in the tall grass, so they also will be wary of lions and other predators, so they have to be in a place where there's short grass. So this time makes it more difficult for lions to find game, so they have to move or walk long distances find prey. And in this time, you find that pride will just overlap and walk into other lions'. Leah, do lions ever migrate with their prey? I would say lions that have not yet established their territory will migrate or follow prey, especially the wildebeest. But lions that are in their pride areas, like for example the Owinos, they have a big territory, so they'll always be moving within their territory, following prey. Sometimes they might overlap and go into other lions' pride area or territory, following prey, but they don't always migrate as such. Other people have come to enjoy this sighting. We know lions of being active at night, but due to availability of prey, you will see them also active during the day, walking around trying to find food for them to eat. So during the rainy season, it also becomes difficult for them to pursue prey because there is more grass, so animals tend to move a lot and avoid the core areas of the pride. So pride members utilize the core areas where there is adequate water, there is enough food supply, and that is where mostly the lion pride guard always at time. So you find that when food is scarce, they walk into other lions' pride, the pride area, they walk into hyena core areas, and sometimes they always have clash and competition over food. So you find lions, hyenas always fighting for food. So because of this, you find that lions with cubs sometimes have to hunt on a regular basis just to make sure that they feed the young ones. We've seen the lot of lionesses walking around here trying to find food. Dion, the reason why she's up there, the termite mound is tall, so at least she can feel that breeze, even though she's hot. So there's breeze blowing and making her cool actually. So it's a nice spot, perfect spot for her to rest at the moment.
I'm still here with my elephants, and they seems to be quite relaxed and enjoying the afternoon here at the marsh. There is a lot of body language that's happening, because there is a female in season and all the bulls are eyeing her. I don't know exactly, I cannot pinpoint which one it is. That is the biggest bull that we have here, the one in between those two. And then there's that one way back there. He's also interested in one of the females. The rest are off to the right, quite a long way of the frame. But they're all here for one purpose. When a female comes into season, she needs to mate. And that's why she sends those low frequencies calls that she is ready or she is receptive. And so within a few hours or 3 days, she needs to mate. And that's why all these guys are gathered here. But the biggest and the most fierce of all males may get to mate unless there is no big males. You know, a male like this with character has got a lot of chances. He's been through a lot. If you look at his ears, they've been tattered, means that he's either been in a fight or he's gone through bushes. They've been tattered. Also his forehead, temples have sunken in, gives me an indication that he's maybe over 40, and here he's enjoying the soft grass as much as possible. Maybe he has walked a long distance to get here, and that energy needs to be replenished with this beautiful soft wire grass. Joy, at what age do elephants start mating? Yeah, they are ready from the age of about 13 onwards. It might sound that very young, but for an elephant, it's quite big enough to be able to carry a young one. Bulls tend to take much longer, up to around 30 years, and that's why once they come into mast, they wander around mating with as many females as possible. Once the young female has mated, it will give birth at the first birth at around 15, 16, and from there onwards, there is an interval of every 5 years there'll be a young one, every 5 years there'll be a young one. And so we estimate in an female elephant's life, there will be around 10 to 12 young ones born. I've been hoping to experience a bath. I've seen one before. Usually it's very dramatic and quite emotional for the elephants because there is a lot of trumpeting and grumbling. I think it's the joy. Yeah, there is a lot of politics going on here amongst the bulls. They're checking each other. Nobody wants to be far away, in case they get a chance to mate with that female. I don't know if she's the one who says, I'm ready, because normally she will break away and run for it, and then there's a hot pursuit by one of the males. Yeah, the weather is just perfect. We started around with around 27 degrees Celsius, but it has dropped slightly. I think it's around 25 now, and it's very, very comfortable. Yeah, there is these three bulls trying to make a long loop around so they can beat the big male who's to the left, trying to be smart, but I don't think they know that he's experienced enough to know that they're trying to play tricks on him to get the girl. Yeah, there is a lot of rumbling. Well, I'm going to stay here, see if I can see the mate, and then, yeah, move on.
So, I have been looking for a pack of wild dogs this afternoon, and I thought with the way that the trucks were going, I should come and look at Clara Dam here at Ngala. And as I arrived, I saw this beautiful big marabou stork, and there was also a hooded vulture. And so those for me are pretty good signs that maybe my is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari this afternoon at Ngala. Behind the camera we have Sebastian, and my plan for this afternoon is hopefully to find you some wild dogs. They are my absolute favorite animal, and there were reports of them this morning. Unfortunately, with the weather, it was raining and I couldn't come out this morning, so I'm hoping that I get to find them for you this afternoon. These two predators or predatory birds that we have here are a really good sign that maybe the wild dogs might have been here. We did have tracks of them coming this way, and so I think maybe they were looking for scraps of a carcass. So I'm just going to spend a bit of time here scanning, looking around, even listening, because wild dogs have a very unusual call that sounds like an owl hooting. And so that's what I'm going to be listening for. But at the same time, it's really good to just scan around here because it's a great place for wild dogs to be hunting, to be looking for some more food. And especially with this marabou stork and the hooded vulture, I think maybe there was some meat here. That's why they came down.
Paul wants to know how tall they get. He's 17 years old.
Paul, marabou storks can get incredibly tall. They can weigh up to 6 or 7 kilograms. The average is about 1.5 meters tall. So that's quite tall. It would almost be as tall as me. And it's just absolutely incredible to think that this bird is so big. We don't actually often see marabou storks up close. So it is very, very special for me to actually be able to see one. In fact, I think this is the first marabou stork I've seen in an incredibly long time, probably months. I was away for lockdown, so this is the first one that I've seen in quite a long time. So they look kind of strange. You can almost see they've got like these little hairs coming off of their heads. It's actually light feathers, but they look almost like they're starting to bald. They're not the prettiest of the storks, but they're definitely one of the most incredible to see. And this one looks like it's struggling a bit in the wind. You can see the wind ruffling its feathers. And it's quite normal for it to be on its own. Noodles, I can't agree with you more. It is so amazing to see a marabou stork. I think a lot of people underestimate the birds, and especially things like storks are just so majestic to watch. Granted, it's not the prettiest bird you've ever seen, but they're incredible in size, in nature. And I mean, to see it, you know, for me to be looking at this bird is quite special because I don't see them that often. So I absolutely agree. It is very cool to see a marabou stork. I always get excited when I see them because they arrive at carcasses pretty early. And they can be quite ferocious. You can see that beak is really big. So they'll eat a lot of meat. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to spend just 2 more minutes here listening, and then I'm going to head on down towards the river, see if maybe the wild dogs have moved to that area.
The
marabou storks, sometimes you'll see them on carcasses, and I've seen them hunting over for fish. Now back here, there were lollers. I thought that these were calves, but I was wrong. The calves are further away. I think that they were, sorry, these are the winners, not the Ololo. My mind is always stuck with the winners, the Ololos rather. So we have them all here. I thought that the calves were lying down here, but I was wrong. I think the calves are further into the grasses. It seems like they're all walking to find food, to find prey. But then during that time when they're hunting, they always leave the cubs by themselves. You can tell that's the lead lioness. She's been checking around, scanning for prey. Stuart, how often do lions have to eat? Now, there's a difference between when lions have cubs. When lions have cubs like these ones, they have to hunt on a regular basis, once every 2 days. When lions are in a big pride, they also have to hunt regularly, I would say twice in every 4 days. When lion is by themselves, let's say for example, lions that are not in a pride, marauding lions that have been ousted out from their territory, they find it hard, and sometimes they can even go for 4 days without eating. So I would say lions can go for about 3 to 4 days without eating, but then lions like this have to hunt on a regular basis because they are nursing. They have those young ones, those cubs that lactate every now and then, so they have to provide for them, and by eating or hunting on a regular basis, those cubs are assured of milk from these lionesses.
An elephant bull who's worrying me greatly. I really hope he doesn't push over this large leadwood tree that's in the middle of the waterhole filled with buffalo weaver's nests. He's acting very strangely. He's been pushing on it and shoving and breathing into the water. It's very odd behavior, but it's also really cool to watch. I'm sure he's going to do what he does. If he pushes it over, well, that's nature, I guess. Nothing much we can do about it. But look what he's doing. He's blowing bubbles constantly. He's been doing it for ages and ages, just blowing bubbles. Maybe he's just having the best time of his life. I have no idea what's going on, but I love it. Keep doing what you're doing, but just don't push the tree over. That's all I ask. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike. Behind the camera is BK, and you've joined us at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy, where we're sitting right outside of our camp at Ndlovu Dam, watching these two elephant bulls doing their thing, and one of them is just leaning his head against this tree for a long time now. He puts his weight against it every now and again. You see the whole tree sort of shakes. Goodness, I'm sure the birds were also holding their breath right now. It looks like he might still come back for more. You can see all the weavers are sitting right outside the nest there. A few of them were twittering and tweeting near the elephant a moment ago, perhaps trying to sort of mob the elephant, tell it, hey, please don't do this. Look what it's still blowing bubbles there. No idea what's the story. It's very cold and very windy. You can probably hear it through the microphone, the wind howling through. So the elephants have not swum, and I doubt they are going to swim, just because it is very cold, and once they start cooling down, it's very difficult for them to warm up. And we're expecting a few days of this sort of colder, windier weather. I really wonder what it's doing with this blowing bubbles business. I thought for a moment it might be trying to, clear the water, but then it also looks like it's maybe picking up bits of mud and clay from inside the water. Maybe it's missing some sort of nutrients, and it's trying to get something from the soil. Now it's just rubbing its face. That's so odd. Let's watch again. Is he going to blow? Look, he's blowing bubbles again. He's blowing bubbles again. Let's see, because last time he blew bubbles and he picked up a bit of mud. And it almost looked like he wanted to put it in his mouth. I've never seen it before. This is my first time to see an elephant doing this. Seems very curious. I wonder if this elephant is maybe going into the early stages of must, and so he's got a lot of extra like energy or maybe a little bit of aggression. See the bubble blowing again. Now feeling absolutely everything. I know there's been a lot of females here recently. Maybe that's what it is. I think the elephants will mud bath whenever they need to. So, for example, you've seen this elephant has just drunk a bit of water, gone up to his knees, and then is leaving again. It's cold, it's not sunny, there's no reason for it to mud bath, there's not going to be many insects tonight, and so they're not going to do that. But if it's a very hot day, we've seen the elephants coming 3, maybe 4 times in a day just to have a bit of a mud wallow. They'll stay in the water for 10, 15 minutes, sometimes maybe even an hour, and they'll go off and feed for a while. Then they'll go back to mud wallow again later. So it all just depended on the weather and the wind and what's going on. Now he's approaching that other younger elephant bull. Let's see just how it reacts. Is it going to react in an aggressive way or a calm way? Do you have to be aware that we are sitting at this waterhole, minding our business, but sometimes when elephants are in this kind of curious mood, they can try to approach the vehicles, which we prefer not to have happen. We prefer to avoid that. Oh, it seems like he just wants to get to a slightly different angle. He's still sniffing the ground everywhere. You see, there's some fairly fresh-looking elephant dung there. Is it fresh? I don't know if it's fresh, actually. But he's definitely relaxing his trunk and always putting it on the ground and often sniffing things. So there, what I see now, where it's got its trunk lying on the ground like that, that's usually something I'd associate with an elephant that's sleepy, almost. And now it's playing with the tip of his tusk. I wonder if he's got an itch. Look at that. Look what he's doing. He's really like rubbing all over. Maybe he's got something on his trunk which is uncomfortable and he's trying to clean it off. I don't know. He's really using it like a snake, just winding it and twirling it. Oh, you see there he's got a bit of a head shake. So this elephant looks like he wants to come over here. I don't want him to do that. Mr. Elephant, what exactly do you want to do? Well, while we extricate ourselves from this situation, we'll see what he does.
I'm still here, and there is a lot going on. The bulls are trying to find some space to mate with one of the females in estrus. I cannot pinpoint which one. At the same time, I think there is some females who are getting ready to give birth. I don't know what time. Like that female there, she looks like she's very, very, very ready. Yeah, I can see lots of signs, but I don't know when it's gonna happen. All that saggy skin on her backside is the space created to hold the baby whales coming, down. If you note on other females, it's not there. If you look at other females, you'll see that. So that's one sign. Usually she wiggles around quite a lot and spreads her legs when it's ready, but there's lots of fluid that comes down. I don't see any at the moment, but it's quite soon. Look at the bulls. Oh, that is just mock mating. 2 cousins playing, practicing. It's quite normal to see that, and bulls do that to do what we call mock mating. It's a sign of dominance towards one another. This is just amazing, guys. I hope you're loving it. It's not always you see more than 50 to 80 elephants together, all doing different things, and it's just so beautiful. I'm enjoying the body language that they are portraying. and I hope I can get to learn something.
From the elephants to our little tiny cubs. Look at how cute these cubs are. So they've been left here because their mothers went out on a hunt. Usually when lambs go on a hunt, the instinct that just speaks in is that wait for us, we're coming here. Or sometimes they'll be left with one babysitter. So of those four lionesses that we've just seen, one would be left to stick around here, watching over for these cubs. So it seems like those lionesses were out on a hunt. Whatever they were pursuing, they actually were doing a teamwork. And so that's the reason why they left these cubs unattended. Sometimes cubs can be left even up to 24 hours unattended, and then their mothers will always come back to nurse them, or maybe come back and call them to take them to where they've made a kill. Before their mothers go on a mission, possibly they might come back. Tanya, yes, they are so cute. Let me just change position for you, Tanya. We have them facing different direction. They look super cute. They're all facing us now. The reason why we have lion mortality is because of this. When the cubs are left unattended and other predators like hyena and other lions coming into this pride area, they will definitely go after these cubs. The good thing, these cubs can at least run, but the only problem is it's too far open, and that's the reason why these owinos have resided over onto the escarpment, because it's easy for them to just hide into rock or hide into crevices. Looks like the one to the right is going to be a male. Bridget, these two cubs are about 7.5, almost 8 months old, and seems like the one to the right is a male. You can see the development of the mane is just forming just slightly. You can see he's a little bit bigger, rounded face than the one to the left. Cubs are always curious, and they're watching tourist vehicles just going past. You can tell by how they're just tilting their heads, ears pointing forwards and their eyes locked onto that direction. So these cubs are old enough to be following their mothers. Walter Jinka, these cubs will always have predators, especially hyenas. If a hyena comes here, these cubs might be in danger. So if a big leopard comes over here, they can also be in danger. If another lion from another pride area walks into here, they can also be in danger. So that is why sometimes lions have to leave a babysitter watching over or looking after the cubs. So I'm sure soon the mothers will come looking for these cubs, and that is the moment I'm waiting for. It's always so exciting how they come, jump around every member of the family in greeting ceremony, the facial wrapping. So I'm just waiting to see if those lionesses will come back and carry on with their mission. So these are old enough to accompany their mothers for a hunt or wherever they're going, and they'll always be left behind whenever their mothers locate prey, because at this age they are not experienced, and if the prey sees them, it will deter the hunt, and that's why they're always left behind. Ashley, are the cubs too young to learn how to hunt? Actually, this is the best time. This is the time that their mothers will introduce them to hunting. I'm sure just not far from now, these cubs will be introduced by such a way that it's very nice always watching that, because the mothers or one of the lionesses will catch a young, let's say Thompson gazelle, topi, baby animal, and then they will let them do the hunting. So these are at their prime time to be introduced for a hunt. And of course, watching or keeping that distance, if the mothers are hunting around here, they will definitely watch how their mothers do the stalking game. So they also learn by watching, and then they'll be introduced by being led to go after young animals or baby animals. Why do lion ears have the black fur or the black spot? So that is an important spot for them. We call them false eyes or the blind spot. So when these two cubs are facing the opposite direction, so if a predator is just walking behind them, they might think that the lions are watching them. By that false eye, they are very important for the predators, especially lions. So if we are approaching them from the back and in a long distance, we might think that the lions are watching us. So it's one way of keeping them safe from predators. So we call them blind spot or false eyes. So we have other people who've come to enjoy this sighting. That's why the cubs are looking so curious, watching them. these cubs want to be active, they want to be playing, but they're a little bit curious, they're naive on what's going on around them. They don't want to be playing up around because they can be target to predators. You can hear thunder. Those you're watching that direction. The 4 lionesses are about 400 meters from here, and so they've not yet called these cubs yet. So there's what to call contact call. They'll give a soft roar to call them, and it will be nice to see them run into their mothers. There are more people who have come in to watch these lions. To Alpha, how many adults are in this pride? There's 4 lionesses. There's 4 lionesses, and Olalashe, the big male that you saw earlier today with the Lololos, are the father to these cubs. So Olalashe has been dominant in this pride, and also the Olololo, so he's the father to these cubs. And the small litter that you saw with Isaac about 3 days ago or 4 days ago. The cub to the right, a few months from now, he'll be dominant over the one to the left. So it seems like males always have that dominance from a small age or tender age. If their mothers were present here, you'll see how playful they would have been. But since they know they're by themselves, they don't want to risk and be playful out here because they're out in the open. And by staying at that termite mound, they're actually safe enough at this moment. So going to stick around with these cubs. Would like to see the mothers coming to join them, or maybe them going out on a mission as I take you over to another live location.
Here we have a sighting of the elusive duiker. It's not that they're elusive as much as they're very, very speedy. So we hardly ever get to have more than a few seconds sighting with them. We're quite far away from it. Which is why we thought maybe we'd show you. Maybe it would be accommodating, but that very well positioned branch of the big jackalberry here in Twin Dams is hiding our precious duiker. Well, that was short-lived, but at least we got to see the duiker, right? I actually forgot about something when we started drive, and which would have been part of my plan, is that there were lions, or at least we heard lions, not too far away from camp at the end of drive. So I came all the way to the south here in Twin Dams, and then I remembered that we heard that lion audio. So let's go and check it out. No one else called it in, or called in any tracks. So we're going to have to just see for ourselves. That would be really nice if we could see the nkuhumas. I haven't seen them since I've been back, and it's been almost 2 weeks. So off we go. Hopefully we'll find some lions.
Yes, the first time we've managed to get these guys on film here at Pridelands. Every single time we see the baby impalas, these tiny little lambs, they run off. But we finally got one on camera, yay! And this one here is sniffing around at all the little things that the mama is eating. It's not weaned, it's literally probably about a week old. It'll be drinking mostly milk, but right now it's already venturing, exploring, tasting things, getting to know what is actually going to be edible and what is not edible. And it's lucky, surrounded by lots of mothers and lots of rams as well, so it's a relatively safe place for them. And you can see all the branches and everything moving. It's a very, very windy afternoon, so they need to stay out in the open because the predator will have this thing for a snack very quickly. You can see how alert they are. Every little branch or twig, even my voice probably, if it carries, every now and again gets them alert and watching. Look at the little lamb. It's literally sniffing at everything. It was so cute. It was literally nibbling at the edge of that fallen tree just now. Just love how quickly they build muscle. This thing is only a week old, maybe even less. And we saw them for the first time. They look so skinny and they're wobbly on their feet, but already this one is taking on a bit of shoulder muscle and muscles on its flanks, looking very much ready to dash and gamble about and jump and bound and do all the things that impalas can do. I've been seeing a lot of them. Oh, there it goes. The lambing season is in full swing. We're seeing lots and lots of youngsters now. I mean, this is a small group, maybe 4 of them around here, but we've seen groups where there's about 5 or 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 youngsters. But we've also been seeing lots of youngsters that have been left alone, unfortunately. We've seen 2 or 3 now youngsters that were left with bachelor groups. I don't know if the mothers maybe lost them in the wind or if, who knows what happened, but those lambs that end up getting abandoned or lost will unfortunately not make it because they do need to still feed on the mother's milk for at least a month or 2 before they'll be fully weaned. JP, there's quite a few. I'll have to think about it. I've never actually tabulated it, but it's probably somewhere in the region. Let's think about it. We've got, let's go from smallest to largest. There's Duiker, Steenbok, we've even got Klipspringer, then Impala, we've seen Nyala, then Kudu, we've seen Bushbuck as well. There are wildebeest, there was an eland spotted the other day. I didn't see it, but there was an eland as well. So what is that? That's 9. I'd say that's probably about it. We don't have the other Duiker species. So yeah, I'd say 9 is probably generally what we could find. But we're part of the Greater Kruger, so we could find all the antelope that might occur in the Greater Kruger around this area. So it's certainly possible to see other things as well. Now, yeah, we've got giraffes. We've got buffalo as well. I don't know if they really count, but yeah, sure. So that'll be 11 if you're counting giraffes and buffalo. There's zebras also. That's not an antelope, but there's zebras also. So what is that? That's 12 now. Yeah, quite a few little antelope species. Where do those other ones move off to now? They're all hidden there behind the branches. They are taking shelter closer to some of the tree line. I see they're all looking in one direction. They all seem to be looking to the left. Not all of them, but quite a few. Vika, I'm going to try and move us to see if we can get a bit of view. Just to see if we can have one little glance at them. They do this all the time. This is basically what we've been experiencing the whole time. As soon as they see the camera, they move off and hide behind the bushes. It's actually quite cool that we're seeing them right now, and they're getting more used to the vehicle. At first we were finding lots of mothers alone with their lambs, and that's purely because they usually give birth away from the rest of the group, and they'll have their lamb for a few days alone, and then they'll join up with the group again. And that's just so they can build that bond and be very close. But that bond can be broken as well. Every now and again you'll find that, let's say, I saw a very interesting documentary recently where a young impala just like this, about this age, went to drink water at a water hole just like the one at Ndlovu Dam, and got covered in mud because it fell over, it slipped over. And even though the mother was right next to it, when it tried to go and suckle from the mother refused it because now it didn't smell like its youngster. It was pushing it away the whole time. And, you know, we never, the documentary never showed us what would happen, but I suspect that as long as the youngster was persistent enough and the mud started to dry and cake off and crack, and then the mother would accept it again. But whilst it was covered with the stinky clay mud, the mother did not want anything to do with it. So scent is a very important thing to establish because they all look the same. I mean, an impala lamb, every single impala lamb looks identical. And, I mean, the sound that they make might also be, you know, pretty similar. They could be a little bit individual. But the scent carries so much information. Have you ever smelt something and it just brought you straight back to, like, your youth or to a specific event or occasion? Whenever I smell eucalyptus trees, it takes me back to boarding school because there was an avenue I had to run down to post my letters, and such an amazing event. Ooh. Gabelo, that is an interesting question. So if this male that's now dominating this group and protecting it, or at least looking out for it, would be killed by a predator, I don't think anything would particularly happen to the females except that another male would move in when the rutting season, you know, when the rutting season came about next year, in around April, May, a new male would take over. But there are, I think we saw at least 2 or 3 males here a moment ago. This one is clearly the dominant one of this particular group. Cabello, if this one dies, another male will take over. But the females don't need a male at all. There's no reason apart from the mating to reproduce. But apart from that, he doesn't provide much. This male impala, although he's bigger and he's got horns and he's a bit stronger, it's not really going to be protecting it from leopards and lions and other things. There's not much it can do. Maybe it could protect the youngsters from things like baboons or from jackals that might want to catch them. But against larger predators, it's not going to be much help at all. But you see that there, what happened? They got a bit of a fright. There was a gust of wind that came through. Maybe that brought them a scent of something. The anti-poaching unit guys told us that they had spotted a lion in this area a couple days ago. So they might still be around. And whenever they catch a scent, they all run to an open area and they just huddle together. It's very interesting to watch.
With this overcast weather and the windiness, lots of animals will be nervous. Here we have a squirrel. A nervous character in general, always alarming. Oh. Are you gonna come drink now? Do it. Oh, it's got itself a snack instead. I love to see little creatures drink. We're at chili pan. And little creatures like mongoose and squirrels can be quite difficult to catch having a drink. Whatever it is, it's so perfectly round. Look at the efficiency with which it's peeling it. Amazing. Oh, it looks so very happy. I'm happy we got to watch it.
Welcome back, and our cubs are still waiting here. You can see they're a little bit feeling cold. You can tell because the breeze is blowing towards that direction. Look at the mane, small mane of that one to the right. So cute. Just waiting to see when, oh, that's nice. The grooming, the facial grooming, that also enhances the bond between the two. They've also learned how to check off for predators. You can see how they walk, looking round and round, turning round, facing different directions. They've also learned how to watch for predators. I'm sure before they got to this age, Mom has always hid them from other big lions, the ones that we call them marauding lions, and sometimes also hyenas. So when they're here by themselves, they also worry about other large predators. Each time a vehicle leaves this sighting, they have to keenly look. Angelo, at what age do the males start growing their mane? Normally it's between 2 years that they start developing their mane, but we have difference in behavior observation. I've seen lions growing mane from the age of about 1 year, 1.5, and sometimes even 10 months. So because of the gene pool nowadays, you find that it's not always that we always see lions growing mane at the age of 2 years. So they can start developing the mane from as young as 12, 14 months. He's gone round because he's sheltering from the wind. Over in the distance, I can see the mother that is up on the termite mound. These two are grooming each other. They look curious. They just want Mom to come back. But Mom is taking her sweet time before she decides on whether to come back or not. They look like they will use a good meal, definitely. These cubs, when you find them eating where the adult lionesses have brought down a kill, they're always so playful. Sometimes they play like pretending to be taking the prey down. You see how they retract their claws on the species, whatever has been killed. So it's always nice when you watch them. So that is also how they learn on how to use their claws, to retract their claws, how to use the biting force. It's always nice watching them do that. At what age is a lion strong enough to defend itself? I would say 2 years is a good age for a lion to defend itself, because at 2 they can run fast, they can outrun a predator, they can hold their ground against other lions and also predators. So 2 is a preferred age to defend themselves. You can see their ears twitching because they can feel the rain. You can see how they've crouched themselves next to each other. So they might walk to seek shelter, maybe under a log. But still they can see mom over in the distance. They're quite worried because the grass is too tall here. So they can't actually walk over to mom because they're afraid they might be caught up in between by a predator. SH, the reason why these cubs stay put is an instinct that goes through, and by watching how their mothers were stalking, because I'm assuming, and I'm definitely sure that those lionesses were stalking, and what happens when the lionesses start crouching, start moving, advancing towards prey, the cub automatically just stay put. So at this age, they've already learned how to stay put, just wait. But when they were too young, let's say 2, 3 or 4 months, they would have been following their mothers. I saw them one time when they were still too young, and their mothers were trying to hunt, and they were the ones chasing after the prey. So at that age, they can deter the hunt. So at this age, they can just follow their mother's instinct, and the communication that goes in there is, let's wait for mom to go on a hunt.
a big storm, but it has gone very, very fast. And I drove from the swamp. And here I have come across another small herd of elephant, and I tell you, we have another newborn. It is so small, it is unable to reach for its, nipple to reach. Look at that. Very, 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 very young. This is from this morning. Yeah, the ears from here can tell they're still pink. They're usually the color. It's trying to drink. Look, it's even trying to lift its front legs so it can reach for that nipple to be able to get that much needed nutritional milk. How amazing is this? I'm so fortunate. Yeah, definitely could be her first bath. She's a very young mother. Look at that. I think maybe 14 or so, 15. Very, very, very young. And that is her first calf. It's amazing. Super sweet. Yeah, still wants some more, but the mom wants to move. It's trying to demand, and that is a way of maybe telling it something. I don't know what it's trying to tell the young one. It really wants to get some more. Stay there, mom, I need to drink some more. It's so sweet. She's not experienced, I can tell. She's not putting that leg forwards to allow the young to, get hold of that nipple. Look at how wobbly it is. Yeah. Yeah, not the best place to be born at this time when it's cold. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, apart from that, we have another one that's really having a good time. I don't know if you see it, Bungay. Yeah, sorry. Just sorry to interrupt, but there is one there. Left, I think to the left slightly, Bungay. There, right there, yeah, there. There we have it. Yeah, that's another one that's really having fun. Yeah, this marsh, it might look very green and flat, but it's so deep. That is an elephant that's playing there. Yeah, see? Yeah, it's amazing that with this kind of weather, they are playing in deep water and mud. I respect, their body temperature. Yeah, I don't know how big it is. I just picked it up when it was playing. It looks like quite a big one. Yeah. Heather, you say flash, flash? Okay. Look at that. It's really loving that. Oh, splash, splash. Definitely it is a splash, splash, if that's what it is. I wondered it was, but yeah, look at that. He's loving it. I don't know if it's a young bull or it's a young female, but it's really loving that session. Yeah. Getting rid of old mud to be able to go to the spa and get a new set of mud. Yeah, it's quite deep, the marsh. Looks like it's all flat. Wow, it's quite a big one. The young teenager, and he's loving the water. Okay, you're gonna disappear on us. Can you move forward a little bit, Bungay? There we are. Yeah, very excited. The raising of the tail and sometimes spreading of the ears is a sign that all is well. I'm happy. Yeah, just went to the bath to clean off old mud, and it will be looking for a spa to put on new layer of mud. Yeah, that's how clean as elephant skin can be. It must be feeling very, very fresh. Looks like a she actually, sorry. It's all of them are part of that big this big herd of elephants that are hanging around here. They have a really, really tiny one. Maybe she was celebrating the young one. Well, that was super, super, super cool. I really loved it. I hope you enjoyed it too. So I'm gonna find some cuts, and while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
There's a little baby here too. Tiny little one. Where are you? Just in time it walks behind that mound. It's still a little bit wobbly, that little one. Little impala lamb. You're quite tiny too. Things are quite quiet out here today. I told you I wanted to follow up on those lion tracks, but I've been beaten to the lion tracks. I went to find they've already crossed out. It was tracks for the telemates. Can you hear that? To me it sounds like a heave. It's quite difficult to hear because of the wind, but it's like a vomity heave, if that makes sense. Excuse the description. That's how the ewes call their lambs. Kind of a version of the burp-like roar that the rams make during the rut. The crashes are getting bigger and bigger now. Can you hear that? Oh, oh, oh. It's my best impression for you. These little ones are just too cute and so full of energy, and when they're all together in that little creche, it's just adorable.
Welcome back to Ngala, everybody. So I'm still searching for the wild dogs, and I couldn't agree with TRISHALA more. It's so amazing to see all the little lambs at the moment. We've got so many little ones that have popped up in this last week, and that's actually a big reason why the wild dogs are more active at the moment. It's not only that it's overcast and cool, but those impala lambs are a really good source of food for them. So what I'm actually doing is I'm driving along the northern side of the Timbavati riverbed, And this is the area that the last tracks were going towards. I know that there's a lot of nice clearings around here with lots of impalas and their lambs. So I've decided I want to drive along here and just see. Maybe we hear them alarm calling. We have actually seen a few impalas standing incredibly alert, looking in a particular direction. So we're driving around, trying to pinpoint where these wild dogs may have gone. What's really lucky about weather like today, especially when you're doing a wild dog search, is they might not be sitting. They might not be hiding under a guarri bush. They might be out in the open somewhere. They might even be energetic, maybe playful, even hunting. And because there have been so many impala lambs born, I'm really hopeful that the wild dogs will stay in this area. It is one of the denser areas for impala lambs in particular. And especially in a section like this, you know, it really is perfect. And actually, there's some impalas and even some zebras here on the right at the moment. They're all looking quite relaxed. But it is something that I do want to sit and have a look at. So I'm going to spend some time here and just see what happens. Maybe they can...
Still here with these little ones, look at them. And we've got some wildebeest in the background too. Everyone feeling nice and safe all together. Oh, they're so cute. It's starting to get just a little bit chilly. Or at least for me. We can see that they've also fluffed up a little bit. Picked up all the little hairs in their body so they can trap bits of air, little air pockets that'll insulate them and keep them warm. Sandra, you'd like to know if baby impalas are precocial at birth? They are. They can stand up pretty quickly, but they will get stashed away by mum for a few days, as with all antelopes. So they get stashed in the, like hidden, and mum will just come attend to them for the first few days, just mum, before she brings them into the herd, where they're now exposed to a whole lot of other dangers. Although they are very capable when they are born, unlike, say, lion or leopard cubs, where they have their eyes closed and can't move. That's important for a herbivore because you have to be able to basically limit how vulnerable you can be at any time. It amazes me how little they are, but they behave just like adults. Scratch themselves in the same way adults do. Go to the bathroom in the same way. Of course, they don't actually go to the bathroom, but defecate and urinate in the same way as adults do. With that stance, you know that stance. Look at that. Scratch, scratch, scratch. They're so aware of their little bodies and what it can do. And that comes from learning so much from the herd and from playing and interacting. They learn all these things. Mina Moo, you'd like to know who my favorite predator is? Minamu, you know better than to ask me a question like that. I could never choose. I think watching a leopard hunt is truly fascinating thing. You learn so much about patience and stealth and strength. But the same goes for all the predators. Watching a hyena hunt is also something exceptional. They just course through and pick whoever it is that's unlucky. Look at them grooming. Such beautiful colors. It tells you exactly the type of gloomy day it is. But still the colors are so lovely. Look at this little one looking at the wildebeest. Is that the front or the back, Mum? Their faces and their tails are so long. So sweet. Of course, all it's doing is just staring off into the distance. And up we go. All right, well, that one's heading off. I think we'll head off and see what else we can find, too.
Welcome back here. Our cubs are still grooming themselves and staring where their mothers are. And I think it's about time for their mothers to come and join them and carry on with their mission for tonight. And if not, they'll be left with one to actually babysit them, because at night you have hyenas who will always be on the move, and that they can be vulnerable to them. The one to the left is actually staring where the mothers are. Well, the one that was up on the termite mound, she's still watching because I can see her from a long distance. You can tell she's curious, wants Mom to come here. That one is so busy cleaning himself. You can see how she's twisting her ears and just moving her head to listen what's around her. So the adaptation they get and how they become vigilant over predators actually peeks in from this age. You can see how they're twitching their ears, tilting head, watching over. So that will also improve as they carry on or they continue growing, because it's so important, because being in the open like this, you can be vulnerable to anything, especially the big cat, leopard, lion, and also the hyenas. Over in the distance, I can see another lioness has climbed onto the termite mound. So I'm just going to hang around with them, see if they will reunite with their mom. Taking you over to another live location.
We were also hanging around here at Leopard Dam We saw this herd of elephants earlier, very far away from the dam, and we thought we'd wait here and see if they were turned up. And BK and I were both looking in the opposite direction, and this big female right over here came wandering right past the vehicle, gave us both a bit of a fright. We didn't see them coming until they were about 10 meters away. That's really great. So there's a whole herd here, including lots of youngsters. They're having a good drink in this much relatively cleaner water at Leopard Dam than the water at Ndlovu Dam. And with this herd earlier was also Susan, the elephant that I'm sure you all know quite well, feisty female who always likes to investigate the vehicles at close quarters, as well as a large elephant bull that, although I didn't see the front of him, I suspect might have been the one known as Kumo, a very big, powerful bull who's one of the more dominant in the area. I don't see them here now. Could be that Kumo was, well, he was definitely sniffing around the females, looking for some that were in estrus, so he might have diverted some of the herd whilst he tries to investigate them. You can see a few of them have got a little bit of secretions coming from the side of their face. Those are signs that the elephants are maybe undergoing some sort of a stress, and it could be that stress from Kumo, the big male, giving them trouble. Colby, absolutely. They definitely do breathe through their trunks. You know, the trunk is basically like a huge extension of the nose, and so when they are drinking, sucking the water up of the trunk, and they spray it in their mouth, then they're not using it. But you'll often see them literally put their trunk up above the water like a snorkel as they swim, so you know that they're definitely breathing through it. Elephants, just like us, I'm sure, can be prone to blocked noses. I've heard lots of elephants before sounding very hoarse when they trumpet and when they breathe, so it must be very uncomfortable for them to have such a big nose if it gets blocked. But they certainly do breathe through the nose. They can do everything with their nose. They can grab food with it to put it in their mouth. They breathe through it. They can suck water up into it. You know, there's just a ton of stuff they can do. See what this elephant is doing now? It might be pushing water into its mouth that's already sucked up. I don't think so, actually. No, there it goes. See a little bit of water there? It's busy pushing water out of its trunk and into its mouth. Much easier than having to lean all the way down and drink with their mouth directly, which they could also do. Oh, I'm about to lose my hat. That was a big gust of wind that just came through. They can use that trunk to splash themselves. They can use it to pull branches off of trees. They can even use it to fight, wrestle with each other. You'll see them often locking their trunks together and pushing and shoving. They can use it to investigate. See that young female there just touching the edge of that branch, figuring out exactly what it is. Oh, so we were speaking to one of the other guides in the area just, you know, after we saw that big elephant bull, what it was, the weird stuff that he was doing. And we talked about the way it was rubbing its trunk all over its tusks. And that guide, that specific person, said that he believed that it was just a way for the elephant to brush its teeth, more or less, by covering its trunk in mud and then rubbing it all over its tusk. It helps to polish it and shine it and keep it clear of any vegetation that might then get wedged in and cause it to have sort of like a plaque, almost, you could say. Well, it looks like the elephants are finished their drinking and they're going to find their way out, but I see that they're kind of blocked by us. We moved forward slightly as they moved past. I don't want them to be blocked, so I'm going to start the car and just move away from them slightly so there's a bit more space for them to get past. You don't want to block the elephants if they're on the move. You always got to give them space, especially when there's mothers with youngsters like this. You never want them to feel boxed in. Move a little bit. There we go. Gives them plenty of space to move past. And look, as soon as we did move past, that big female that originally came past us is starting to make her way out of here. She seems like a very experienced matriarch. She's very calm, she's not making any noises, she's not trumpeting, and all the babies, as you can see, trust her completely. They're walking right past the vehicle without showing any real signs of concern. There's no tails like held very high up, which is often a sign of elephants being worried. And there's actually quite a large male which is following them. Not very large, but definitely old enough that I would be surprised that he's still with the group. Tamala, that's a question which I get often, and it ranges. It obviously depends completely on the size of the elephant. A really big male elephant with a massive trunk could probably hold more than 10 liters, maybe up to 20 liters. You're right, the BK. More than 20 liters of water in his trunk. I've even seen a video where the person claimed that the elephant had sucked 30 liters into its trunk out of a bucket. I'm not sure if 30 liters sounds a bit much. Most of reference material that I find says anywhere between 10 and 20 liters, and if it's a very big elephant. Look at that elephant, it's got green all over its trunk. Do you see that? So that is a sign that this elephant might be right-handed or right-tusked. You see, because it's always using the same side of its trunk to strip vegetation off of the trees. You might also find that goes in conjunction with its tusks. You might find that the right tusk might be more blunt than the left one. You see that? Green, and then there's the tusks there. Well, they both look quite short and blunt, so maybe this elephant is ambidextrous. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's interesting. I wonder if elephants can be ambidextrous. Some human beings can be, so I suppose it shouldn't be that elephants can't. I've often wondered, how much can an elephant hold in its trunk? Yeah, I would assume 10 liters, between 10 and 20. That to me sounds like makes more sense. 30 liters is a lot of water. So it's interesting, they all drank at one spot. Now they seem to be moving to the next spot and having a quick drink. Now it looks like the matriarch is going to lead them away up to better feeding areas.
It's always nice when you watch elephants drinking. Actually, every elephant activity is always exciting. Now, our lioness that was up on the termite mound has been joined by her sister, and you can see how she's staring back where we left the cubs. She's up on the termite mound and she can watch a long distance away, making sure that predators don't get close to her cubs. Lionesses in the pride will do a communion watch, and they'll always take care of their cubs. And if you don't have a cub, every member is responsible for the cubs in the pride. There's an added advantage when lionesses in a pride come into synchronous birth. So when they synchronize their birth, making sure that every member can at least assist in nursing the cubs. So even if the cub is not hers, they always watch over them. And that's why the reason we find sometimes we have a babysitter left at the den to take care of the cubs. Sonia, can lions get energy? Not that I know of. I know they can only get some diseases, but allergies, not really that much. But I've seen lions sneezing, so sometimes when something gets through their noses, they can sneeze, but not that much that I know of. They can get allergies. Wow. Look at that. They've all come to unite here. It's so nice, beautiful. And that tells you that they want to get back to the cubs. They're all watching the cub's direction, and off she goes. So it's that time of the day when they become active, want to go out on a hunt. So it's time to scan and check if there's prey within. So let me see if these lambs will get back to the cubs, because one has actually come just close to us, waiting for the rest to join her as I take you over to another live location.
So there goes that elephant family heading off, dust bathing as they move off. Every now and again throwing a trunk full of the dust. It's amazing just watching them, how the babies follow single file all the way, more or less. And one female there looks like she's maybe a little bit pregnant, looking very wide. It's awesome. I love elephant families. Just love how close they can be and how in tune they are with each other. But as they disappear off, waddling away, a couple of young elephant bulls arrived at the same time, or just after. You know, that matriarch left very quickly with the rest of her family, and I suspect it's because these two boys arrived, and they are probably a little bit too big and strong to be playing with the youngsters in her family. So she just moved off to avoid any sort of trouble. Now I wonder if we wait a bit longer, there might be even some other larger elephant bulls coming that we had seen earlier. This one here has got a broken right tusk. Doesn't look like there's any nerve damage, but certainly broken off maybe in feeding or foraging. Hey, get your trunk out of my mouth. I am drinking here. Get your own water. That's funny. I wonder why I did that. Remember, elephants use their trunk to get scent and put it in their mouth to taste and understand what's going on. So maybe it's just having a bit of a, you know, an intimate moment with his friend over there. That one is a little bit younger than the other one, so he's still learning how to be a real adult male elephant. I suspect they both are. It's just lovely to see two bulls so calm and happy with each other.
So welcome back. Our lions are not yet out on the move. You can see how sentinel they are. Everyone is scanning. Everyone is busy scanning. So they have an added advantage when they hunt at night. It's cool. They can see much better at night. So they have to locate prey before deciding on moving or advancing towards them. Little stretch. So they have to check every direction. Show you that they've not yet seen anything around, or whatever they've seen is far. Look at how she's staring at the babies. They know the cubs are there, so they have to keep a close eye. They also have to check for predators around. Not only that they're looking for prey, they're also checking for predators, because they know the cubs are out in the open. They're vulnerable and exposed to other predators. Looks like our lionesses are about to be mobile, so I'm going to take you over to another live location.
Have you met the dwarf mongoose from Buffalo's Cove? looks like it's the first time they've seen us. I love these little guys, the way they stare at us. So fearless. Not even gonna flinch. Look at that. Red-crested quahan calling in the background. Very nice. There's a small mongoose in this little group too. So it looks a little large. I almost don't want to speak or move because this is so intense. And Nathan, you'd like to know if they're part of the meerkat family? Oh, there comes another. Yes. So mongoose and meerkats are closely related. Can you hear that snapping? Oh, there's that little one. Look at that. That beak snapping is what precedes the very elegant fall into the hole there. It's what precedes the call of the red-crested quahan, is that beak snapping. Look at how small this one is. I've seen smaller, but it's nice to see a little one than the usual. Rosamond, you'd like to know, what do mongoose eat? Mongoose are carnivores, as in the order Carnivora. So they love to eat insects, other small arthropods, even snakes, but particularly scorpions, termites, snails, things like that. Oh, wind's picking up. Herpestidae, which is the group that they belong to. You know, a herpetologist is somebody who deals with snakes. And Herpestidae, them and mongoose and meerkats belong to. Hence to their behavior of being able to kill and eat snakes. I feel like it's got that look that's saying, come. Oh, did you see it blink? I often get the question, do mongoose blink? It just blinked. It's looking at me like, come on, come. Come close, I dare you. And Paul, you'd like to know if a mongoose has good eyesight. They do have good eyesight. They have, look at that, good eyesight, good sense of smell, good sense of hearing. I would say very averagely so amongst the senses. I would say hearing is their best. very difficult to see their pupils. But they can get very, very wide, which would mean that they're trying to collect a lot of light so that they can see well. But that's not to do with seeing well at night, because they're diurnal, which means that they forage during the day and they're all tucked away at night. But it's more because they're so close to the ground. There's lots of shadows, so they need to collect a lot of light. So we're on Bafusuk because Nsele has been found with 2 kills. So we thought we'd make our way there. She's a leopardess. So we're going to keep on moving towards her because she's not very close to us at all. I just need to. Problem is I've got another vehicle behind me. I need to let it pass. But if I let it pass, then the mongoose will run away. Never mind, the flap of our rain roof did that. Okay. Shame. They're very, very, very alert. Always alert. Let's just pull up here so the other vehicle can go past. Okay, past they go, and I'll see you just now when we get to Nsele.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. So it's actually quite a miraculous turn of events this afternoon. I was tracking the wild dogs and thought I was going a bit crazy. The wild dog tracks turned into lion tracks. So we've been following the lion tracks. And as it turns out to be part of the Birmingham Pride. Oh my goodness. So we had a bit of a change of plans there while we were busy following those wild dog tracks. But I love how quickly plans change out here. It's absolutely incredible. So what I'm actually doing at the moment is I'm going to where those tracks are heading towards, where Nikki, one of our other guides, is sitting with them, where he's just found them. So we're going to go and have a look. It seems like it's just a few members of the Birmingham Pride. But I'm very excited to see, especially in this weather, what they're doing. And the nice thing is we're still in the area where the wild dogs have been seen. We've heard some hyenas calling. So we think they are around, but maybe just off of our eastern boundary. So I figured while I'm looking for wild dogs, I might as well make a little bit of a change of plan. Because those are the best plans, the ones that happen unexpectedly in the bush. Don't worry, I haven't given up on the wild dogs. I'm just always excited to see any lions. But we're definitely going to carry on with the wild dog search a little bit later on in the evening. To track the wild dogs or any of the animals at And Beyond Ngala, there's a few methods you can use. The most predominant one that we use would be actually looking for the tracks on the road. And we're quite lucky because majority of the predators like to walk on the roads. It's much more open for them. There's less thorns, less resistance, less insects and ticks. So majority of them will walk along the roads. So what we might do is if, for example, somebody finds the wild dogs in the morning and we're looking for them in the afternoon, we go to where they were in the morning, and then from there you look for tracks. And so you follow the tracks and you kind of, because we know the reserves very well where we all work, you would then use that to try and make an educated guess about where they might have come out. But a lot of the time we end up actually getting off the vehicle and tracking them on foot, following the tracks through the bush until you find them. And then we would go and get the vehicle and come back in so that we can actually view them. But we're also very lucky. We do have trackers specifically dedicated to tracking animals when we have guests out here on safari at and beyond Ngala. So they would normally be sitting on the front in that tracker seat, and they would be looking for tracks as we drive, and they might get off and track those animals while we continue with drive, looking in similar areas. It's almost like triangulating. You would look on the surrounding roads to see if you see any tracks crossing out, and then from there you'd be able to work out where those animals might be. For wild dogs, it's quite nice as well. You can often use audio, so you'd use sounds of other animals, whether it's the wild dogs themselves or even hyenas making a noise, because hyenas will very often follow wild dogs. So for us, we often use audio as well. So that's why I'm thinking about those hyenas we heard earlier, and I think we're going to go there straight after this.
So we had this elephant bull, and then he moved into the thickest of the thickest of the thickets. And I think this might be Kumo. This might be that very big elephant bull. How's it, guys? There's another game viewer driving past. Good afternoon. I think this might be Kumo, that one I was telling you about, because he's very tall, very big elephant bull. So I suspect this might be him. He's on the other side of the drainage line. We can't get to him now, but he looks like he's moving towards the dam. We were actually following the other elephants, the females and those two young males. So what we might do is actually turn around and head back towards Leopard Dam and see if this elephant does come to the dam. And if it does, we'll be able to get a better idea if this is Kumo. Remember, for those of you who've been watching for a while, Kumo has a bit of a mark on his trunk between his tusks. And so that is one way we're able to identify that particular elephant, and the fact that he's really massive. But we didn't get to see his face earlier. We just saw he was a very big bull, and so I don't know if it is him or not. I'm hoping so. But you can see, because of this wind, I think TRISHALA was saying it earlier today, is very difficult to see other animals because most of them hide from the wind. Dan, I've been lucky enough to have some incredible elephant experience, and to be able to name just one of them might be quite tricky, but one that comes to mind is in a place called Mashatu in Botswana. There was a whole herd of elephants, or there was a whole elephant pathway that went right past my tent when I was a student with eco training. And one night, it was about midnight, I heard a noise. I came out, it was full moon, and I sat on a log right outside my tent, and all of these elephants just came walking past me one by one. And it was a full moon, moonlight. I was safe because I was sitting on this fallen tree, and there was a few branches in front of me, and these massive elephants and baby elephants and everything walked past. It was about 200 elephants that walked past me. And you can imagine when you're a young, training field guide, and you sit and you have that kind of experience with animals passing just 10 meters in front of you, it was absolutely mind-blowing. I might have even cried, because it was just, with the full moon and the silence and the elephants, it was mind-blowing. They're just such intelligent animals and so emotive. I mean, you look at them, and although they can't make expressions like we can make, you watch their eyes and just their movements, and you really can just feel the emotions that they have. And with the full moon, these elephants moving, I mean, just thinking about it now just makes me want to smile. I wish I could go back. Let's go and see if we can have this elephant bull. Let's go and see if we can find him at the dam, and then we'll be able to see that what I was talking about with the faces of the elephant. So when this elephant comes out to the water, hopefully you'll be able to see just what I mean by the calm eyes and the way it listens and moves. And especially if there are other elephants that come there, you might get to see their interactions. Because if it is Kumo, and if he is looking for mating opportunities, then it means that he'll be doing a lot of communication.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. I'm now sitting with the Birmingham Pride, or 4 of them anyway. And that is actually one of the Ross males with the lioness that we think is coming into estrus. So he's very protective of her. And we're at one of the old quarries on And Beyond Ngala. And there you can see one of the older lionesses, and actually the one in front is a slightly younger one. And they seem to be moving around the edge of this dip into the quarry. Oh, isn't she stunning? Just have a look at those shoulders, the way she's standing. She's incredibly big. You can see how strong the wind is behind her, the leaves all blowing. So I think that's why these 2 lionesses are more active, because it is so nice and cool. So I think they might be moving towards somewhere that's maybe not as windy to get a bit of refuge from the wind. But one of my favorite things about her in particular, have a look at her rib cage, that stripe that goes diagonally up from her shoulder, where you can see those muscles on her rib cage. She's incredibly strong, this lioness. One of the oldest in the Birmingham Pride. And actually the male lion has now gotten up, and he's watching to see what they're doing. The other lioness is up as well. Nice stretch. Big yawn. Watch how he follows her. So you can definitely see she's coming into estrus. He's very protective. He's right behind her. Tyler, the Birmingham Pride is 18 lions in total. That includes the 2 big Ross males, so that one you can see, and his brother, the Birmingham young male, and then the lionesses and cubs. Some of them are now more considered sub-adult. They're just over 2 years old. But in total, this pride is now 18. You can see how he's flicking his tail every now and then for the flies. Incredible. So the lioness is actually there down below, walking along the edge of this little waterhole. Now there she's actually scent marking a bit. Quite unusual to see a lioness scent marking. But when she's urinating, she's rubbing her back feet through it. And normally it's the males that do that, but you might find because she is starting to come into estrus, she might be trying to almost advertise in a sense. Or she might be going through some more hormonal changes. Wow. Isn't he stunning? You can see his mane is really in its prime at the moment. Going past his shoulder blades, he's going to scent mark there, I think. Yeah, rubbing his cheek on it. Then he's going to lift his tail and urinate. So he's telling all the other lions, this is my territory, it's taken. So this lioness that is down below the Ross males, she is around 3 years old, I would estimate. She's still quite young. This would be her first litter if she's coming into estrus now. Compared to the Ross male, he's quite a bit older. So in terms of this situation, it's actually quite normal for her to be out on the side with him alone, because it's her first time. She's not really sure exactly what's happening. The older lionesses are probably around just to keep them company, in a sense. I think the pride split quite a few days ago, but they'll find each other again. But for her, it's probably still an incredibly new experience to be so close to the Ross male and to be going into estrus. She's not quite sure of the changes that are happening in her body. They've got very good instincts, so I'm sure that she can feel what's happening and she knows what is expected of her. Her natural instinct tells her that. But it's still a very new experience. She is still incredibly young. She's still got spots all the way down her sides. So it is definitely interesting to watch something like this. It's always fun to watch the dynamics of the pride and how they're changing. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drive around and see if we can follow them through the bushes, and hopefully we can get another view, especially of them maybe still walking and being active. How lucky are we to see lions moving at this time of the day? It's this weather. Alright, so I'm going to make my way around the front, see if I can get another view of them. Hopefully we get some more action.
So there's 4 young elephant bulls that have arrived, as well as that very large one. However, the large elephant is not Kumo. It's not the elephant that we recognize. It does not have the scarring on its trunk between its... Oh, there's also another family of elephants arriving now. Oh, look at that. So it is a very large elephant that also has... got a bit of audio. Interesting. Wow.
So we're now following the Birmingham Pride through the bushes, and they seem to be walking in a straight line, all of them together. And I think what they're doing is they're possibly hearing those hyenas, because that is the direction it was coming from. But they could also actually be hearing the other part of the pride. Excuse the noises. You can actually see them walking through the bushes in front of us there. And there's actually a clearing coming up. So I'm going to try and get to that clearing. Gotta love a Land Cruiser. Possibly one of the most fun parts of the job. They're making me do some fancy driving here. They're still walking just to the right of us. There's a clearing up ahead. Rex, the oldest lion in this pride, is actually a lioness. And it's the white dot female. She's the mother of the young white female. She is now around 11 to 12 years old. She's quite old for a lion. If it would be a male, they actually don't live much longer than 12 years. But for a lioness, she could quite easily get to around 15, especially considering her size and being the dominant pride in this area. Okay, so we've got them in front of us. Bit of fancy driving going on. They definitely look like they know where they want to go. they're walking in a straight line. Here comes the big male. Oh, he's scent marking. Have a look at that. And the other lioness is right behind him. So this is quite normal for him to be scent marking while the pride is on the move, because he wants every other lion that comes through or considers it to know that this is his territory. But he really is a stunning male. He's one of the bigger ones that I've seen. I think we're going to stick with them while they're moving and see what happens, especially since they're moving towards the area where those hyenas were making a noise.
Check this out. A massive herd of elephants has just arrived at Leopard Dam, and it's incredible. I mean, why they're in the water, I have no idea. They've all spread out in a circle to try and get to clean water, and some of them have started just diving in the water and swimming, even in this incredibly cold and windy weather. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, I have no idea why they do that. Now, elephants, of course, these ones might have walked a long distance and be quite warm. And they have big bodies, so they tend to take a long time to heat up and then a long time to cool down. But this is extreme. And you can see the waves, the ripples from the wind. You can see the trees moving. I mean, you can probably hear it in the mic. It's an unusually cold day. It's unusual to see the elephants doing this. But one of the ones that's swimming there, it's difficult to tell now with them all in the water, but one of those is the big elephant bull. And as I was saying, I don't know if you heard, it's not Kumo, doesn't have the scars on its trunk. So it's just another big elephant bull who also has fairly nice, strong, but short symmetrical tusks. There he is there. So you can see no scar on the trunk, nice and fresh looking. But he's about the same size, maybe a bit smaller, but he's a pretty big elephant nonetheless. Ow, that looks painful. He's pinching his trunk. Ow. Ouch. So sometimes elephants hurt each other by accident. And, you know, I think it's just like in human culture. You know, it's two people fighting, play fighting, two kids especially. And then one just punches a little bit too hard, pushes them a little bit too much, and then they can be like a bit of an aggressive action with each other. Sorry if you can hear voices in the background. That's another game viewer which is also in the sighting. Oh, big splash. Look at them, there's so many. I don't know, let's count them. We've got probably close on 30 elephants here. And there is a whole bunch of others amongst the trees and bushes. So it's really cool to see. Look at that one doing almost a backflip. It's like a synchronized swimmer. And this is the herd with Susan, the elephant cow, the young elephant cow, which often comes and visits the vehicle. She's in there somewhere. Luckily we're safe on the other side of the waterhole. We don't need to worry about her affections. I think that's what it is. She's just very affectionate. She just wants to come and say hi. Lots of females there. You can see their very angular foreheads and then that big rounded forehead of this male. Very easy to tell at this angle the males and the females apart from each other.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. The lions have decided it's time to have a rest. So they're all lying, but two of them are lying with their heads up, and this is one of them, and she's still looking in the direction that we're moving in. She's mostly using her ears and her nose at the moment and dozing off in between. You can see how muscular her back is. You can actually even see her hairs are quite dark. A lot of them look black. And that's quite normal. It's all part of camouflaging. But also if you have a look at her face very closely, you can see there's scarring on her ears, scarring around her nose. and her nose is completely black in the center. So she is one of our older lionesses within the Birmingham Pride. And she's incredibly experienced. You can also just tell from her size. Look at how wide the shoulders are. Even her face and her neck are incredibly wide. She's a very strong lioness. So normally what happens is when there are even just a few like this, she's actually got some blood next to her mouth. Sorry, I've just noticed that. They must have eaten something. Incredible. She's incredibly experienced, so she might decide where they go. But we'll stay with them for a while, see what happens.
The fun continues. The elephants splashing and playing. It's always the bulls that I see doing this. Very rarely the females and the youngsters. I mean, it's quite typical, really, isn't it? The men just acting silly, the males just being silly, the women being sensible, graceful, poised. They have fun in their own way, and we have seen the females also doing swimming like this. Not often, but especially when there's no big, strong males like this around who could accidentally hurt or drown, potentially, the youngsters in their play. The females will go in and be a bit more free. This is a great time for the elephants to also practice because their weight is so well held by the water. Heather, I agree. Elephants in water like this is always one of the most fun things to watch because there's just crazy amount of activity, crazy amount of fun and enjoyment. And there's just, everywhere you look, there's something interesting to see, from babies walking on the bank like that one you can see there to, males playing in the water, females being, very gentle with each other, drinking, watching over the whole scene, making sure that there's no trouble for their youngsters. See here, the females at the edge, they're just watching, carefully assessing, and the clouds as well passing over. The whole scene here is just spectacular. It's very difficult for us to put it on film for you all, but there's, I often refer to clouds as species. There's like 4 or 5 different species of clouds above us right now, and some are very low and moving quickly along the sky. Try? Okay. Yeah, okay. BK wants to try and show it because it really is spectacular. So just look over our heads over here. You can just see these clouds just speeding their way, scudding across the sky, and the different colors and textures of the clouds. And you've got high up clouds as well. They're expecting there to be quite a heavy storm coming on the weekend. I mean, you can see the wind is pumping through here with those clouds moving like that. So it is quite very strange that the elephants are swimming like this. I saw some impalas a moment ago running crazy on the other side of the water, and I thought that they might have seen a predator, but they all seem calm now. Maybe they're just getting rid of some nervous energy before night falls and it becomes very dark and they have to stay very still and quiet for the whole, 9-10 hours of darkness. Paul, that is a great question, and it is definitely possible that elephants can drown. That's exactly why the mothers huddle around their babies in the water and they don't allow them to go and play with these big elephants here, because these big elephants, especially if there's a young one, falls between them and gets pushed under the water, they will not hear the baby. They will not even feel the baby probably, because although they're very sensitive, they're too preoccupied with the playing. So it's definitely possible for an elephant to drown. Unlikely for a large elephant like this to drown, but definitely possible. Now there's one elephant there, you can see the tip of its trunk is missing. So we've seen this elephant before. Do you see that? So that one there, the trunk is a bit shorter. So an elephant whose trunk is very short might also struggle in water like this, because if they can't lift their head high enough to breathe with their mouth, they would drown. all excellent question. It's good to always think about these things. Oh, look at that one female. She's got a trunk right up in the air. She's having a good smell. I wonder what's on the air. There's a whole bunch of them doing it. 2 or 3 of them put their trunks up in the air just like that, sniffing the air. I wonder what other animal is approaching. Could be another elephant, maybe if it's in must. A very strong, pungent odor. Could be a predator. I mean, we saw the impalas freaking out. I couldn't hear the alarm calling because it was very, very windy. But there could be something else around here that we don't know of. Certainly could be. It's one of the best things to do when you're on a game drive or in nature is not to race around looking for stuff, but sometimes just to sit calmly and listen and wait and see what arrives. So there's a young one. That one's very small. You can see probably quite unsteady on its feet still, especially in the slippery, muddy environment. And it would be very easy for that one to slip under the water and then really struggle to get up again and out the way of the bigger elephants. So that's why there's a mother right next to it there, just watching and being careful. And she will not hesitate if it's the mother, or the mother will not hesitate to get very aggressive and trumpet and chase and bash the other elephants. So what we're going to do now is just maybe stop for a moment and just listen for a couple of minutes just to watch these elephants and enjoy the scene. What a sighting, what an absolute event to be experiencing on a wintry, cold and windy summer's afternoon.
Welcome back to our resting lines at and beyond Ngala. It is certainly a windy afternoon here as well, but it's special, I think, to be in the wind, because once you've found animals in this weather, you always get different sightings to the normal heat that we experience. You can still see she actually has some spots. Those won't go away, those might stay. But you can also see she's not breathing as heavily as she would on a hot day. She has eaten. Her belly's not empty. But they're definitely quite alert. They're looking over into the same direction, ears moving, trying to pick up on any sound in the wind. So for them, the wind can be an advantage and a disadvantage. It is so windy today. So for them, they might be able to pick up on scents and sounds very easily from upwind, the direction that they're looking in. But for her at the moment, anything that would come from behind, she would not have any smell or hearing in that direction. Very little. So that's why every now and then, like now, you can see her ears are actually facing backwards. and then she'll flick them forwards again, just to make sure there's nothing else coming. I think they are probably looking for the rest of the Birmingham Pride. It's not normal for them to be split up for very long periods of time, so I think within the next few days they'll try and find each other again. Moondust, yes, the Ross males are brothers from the same litter. You can actually see the one there has lifted his head. They are from a property to our northwest, and they are brothers. So it's been quite interesting for me to see the differences between the two. You can see on his mane he's got quite a dark streak coming down from the top of his head, and the further it goes, the wider it spreads, and it almost gets to black at the bottom. He is the darker of the two. His brother is quite blonde. It's almost like you heard me say that. He turned his ear towards me. So they look a little bit different, but overall, you know, it's normal for siblings to look a little bit different to each other. Carla, absolutely. It's a very fluffy mane, and actually if you have a look at it, it looks quite soft. To the touch it would be fairly soft, but actually quite matted. I don't know if you can see how thick it is. So I've often had a lot of people comment and say, you know, they look like they need a bit of conditioner. But actually when you look at him like that, you can see that the mane still stands out against the outline of his body. And that's because it's nice and thick. So his mane needs to be thick and coarse to protect himself when he's in fights. So if he had a really nice silky smooth mane and not as fluffy and coarse looking, anybody that wanted to hurt him, another lion with a big front paw, might come and smack him or try and bite him, and would quite easily be able to get down to his face, his neck, his vital organs. But with his nice fluffy soft mane, the way it is, that thicker hair that's a bit more matted, it means that those claws might hook in that mane, and instead of getting injured, it might just pull through his mane and maybe pull some of his mane hairs out. But they do look incredibly fluffy. I don't think he has eaten that much. His chest is standing out, but his stomach isn't. Here you can see the bulge of his chest, but his stomach there, just above the hip, is actually fairly flat. So they might need to eat again sometime soon. And it's very interesting because a lot of the time people think lions will only hunt the bigger things. But if an impala came along now, they would go for it if they had the chance. It's actually the most commonly hunted antelope on Ngala by lions. But we're going to sit here and see what happens. They look like they're about to have a nice long snooze.
We're sitting here with a humongous inseri. Now, there are two kills that look rather horrid, so if you are sensitive, I'll let you know when we're going to have a look at them. But she's got an impala ewe and a lamb with her. Now she's staring down at a hyena. Look at how huge that belly is. You can see, easy to recognize, the right eye. He's no longer with us. Is she pregnant? Because that is a proper baby. In fact, that looks very pregnant to me. I'm sure she was mating with Tingano, no, Nslungula. One of them, if not both of them. Because look at that belly. That's not food belly, that's too far down. But hey, we've got it wrong with leopards before, but that's a big leopardess. Also for everyone, this is the first time I'm meeting in Sydney. She's in Buffelshoek, quite up north near a place called Broken Dam. She was born in 2009. For those of you who also haven't met her, now obviously I know about her, but I've been really, really wanting to actually see her, and so often we hear her being called in when we couldn't go to Buffelshoek. Now we can, and now we can see her. That pouch, she looks heavily pregnant to me. It's so low. It's got a beach ball effect as opposed to the roundedness when they stuff themselves. I mean, she's also stuffed. Corbus, you'd like to know what the average survival rate of leopard cubs is? It's 40 to 60% before a year. So basically before a leopard cub is a year old, there's half a chance. Or 50% at least, or actually it's 40 to 60, but most of the time it's quoted as 50% chance that it will survive. I think we're going to show to you the two kills in a tree. It's quite sad. And that I've never seen an adult and a lamb in there. So if you are sensitive, you look away. That is very impressive. I would think that she first caught the mother, and then the lamb, not knowing what's going on, probably an easy target after that. Rachie, you'd like to know if a leopard can carry an animal that is heavier than itself up a tree? It can certainly try, and some places say that they can, but I am more comfortable quoting 75% of their body weight than 100, although I've seen 100% quoted, I've seen 150% of their body weight quoted before. They have very, very strong jaws and neck muscles in order to do that. I say to you why I don't think 100% of their body weight, and that's because, or at least I've seen with Tlalamba killed a Nyala female, and a Nyala female is about 50 to 60 kgs, and Tlalamba tried to hoist it. Now Tlalamba's probably about 45 kgs. Tlalamba tried to hoist it, and she was not able to, but she did try. I mean, she could still move it, she could still pick it up, but she couldn't take it up into a tree. She really, really struggled. So I'd say close to their own body weight. But from what I've seen, I've not seen an animal hoist something that is their own body weight. In my time seeing leopard's waist. What a scene. Oh, she's a stunner. Mary Ann, you say it's the perfect tree for eating and for resting? I think so. It's a beautiful tree. Plus you have your eating space on one branch, your resting space on another. Look at that stair. We say a female leopard. I say the number was about 45 kgs at that time when she tried to hoist that nyala. Fully grown female can be about 60 kgs. Leopardess. I'd say like that. She looks massive. I would put her in that upper range, and an impala female is about 40 kgs. So I think she would have taken this up with ease. Look at that. I think this is what's referred to as a chonker. That is the most humongous leopard I have ever seen. And just sheer, badly distributed body weight. On there too. I think she's gonna be like this for the next, at least the next day. But if I was a leopard like that, well, I would not be able to move very far. I must say, this is the first time I've looked at a leopard and the position she's in and said, must be pregnant, because it's so difficult with a leopard to say that. If you look at the position of that roundness, it's much further back towards her reproductive area than her stomach. Look at that, look at that. Priscilla, you'd like to know how we ID leopards in Juma or Buffelshoek or anywhere else? Firstly, we look at the area we're in, so who we expect to see in this particular area. That's because they have territories. And then we look at, obviously, the sex and spot patterns. So I know that in this part of Buffelshoek, and obviously any obvious identifying features like nicks in the ear and eyes or missing eye or anything like that. So Fensele, you can quite clearly see she's female. and she's in Buffelshoek, so I know that's a female, and that is hanging around Buffelshoek in this corner of it. She has the right eye that's maimed, and she also has quite a mangled ear. And apart from that, she has a 4-3 spot pattern. So all that information pulled together is what lets me know that this is Nsele, or any of the guides here for that matter. Here we have one of Nsele's not very close friends. I would say just somebody she knows. Friend would be a strong word. We're going to sit with her a little bit longer. We might be able to actually reposition nicely. We'll call you back when we have.
So we're on our way back towards the HQ because it's getting real dark now, but we were just passing my absolute favorite tree on the whole of Pride Lands. This is a phenomenally huge leadwood tree with thick trunk and a beautiful spreading crown, and it's my favorite tree. This particular leadwood is probably going to be somewhere around 300, maybe 400 years old at the least, I would say. Some people say they can grow over 500 years old, but this one is probably a good, I would say, 15 meters tall. Or maybe I'm exaggerating, it's probably about 10 meters tall, but it's got a thick, wide trunk and lots of twisting branches, and some of those branches are dead. You see some of the lower branches there, BK, are dead with no leaves or vegetation on them at all. Now, there's a theory that lots of trees, including woods like this, can, as they suck up nutrients and minerals from the ground, they do suck up a certain amount of toxins or things that aren't that good for trees, and then they can pump and divert these particular chemicals or nutrients that they don't need or want into certain branches, which then kills them, and they're called sacrificial limbs. Now, I can't tell you if this is real or not. I've heard two schools of thought. I've heard some people say it's absolutely not true, and I've heard other people say it absolutely is true. So, I mean, I've never found any conclusive evidence myself, but it certainly seems that way when you look at them. But I just love the textures and the shapes of everything, and it really makes a perfect tree for climbing, and also a great tree for a leopard to sit in. Where are the leopards, and why are they not sitting in this tree right now? I have no idea. If I was a leopard, I would spend all of my time in this tree. It's my favorite animal. This is my favorite tree. It just makes sense. Lots of leadwood trees here on Pride Lands. In fact, of all the properties I've ever worked with, it has the most leadwoods. In fact, oh, the sound is going funny again. Oh my goodness. Is that better? Can you hear me again a little bit better? Hopefully that's better. So, myself and Gert, we haven't played it, BK and I, we haven't played it yet, but we played this game called Leadwood, where as we drove around, if someone shouted Leadwood, we'd have to stop the car and see who could spot a leadwood, or who rather couldn't spot a leadwood. I suspect there's not a single point on this whole reserve where you could stop the car and not see at least one leadwood, whether it's a young one, an old one, or a dead one. And that's quite unusual. They need very specific types of soils. They like clay soils, they like waterlogged soils, often found close to drainage lines, near rivers and floodplains. That's where you'd find leadwood trees. You can see the clouds are blowing over now. They seem to have passed by us. They're behind us. And the lovely moon is glowing. I think we're about 3 days from the full moon. Very awesome. Always watching it as it waxes its way to the full.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. I have left the Birmingham Pride They started moving a little bit more north towards where those hyena sounds were coming from, but also where we had some tracks of the other half of the Birmingham Pride. So what I'm doing now is I'm just heading back in that direction slowly, much more north towards the main riverbeds again. Maybe we might find the rest of the Pride walking along. It's an incredibly beautiful area. It's very thick. And we go through quite a few little dips here into smaller drainage lines and riverbeds. So I'm just taking it nice and slow. Just hoping that maybe something will pop out in front of us. So in this particular for leopard this time of the night, and I haven't seen a nice leopard, so I'm really hoping that we might bump into a leopard, especially this time of the day. And here in particular, there's some nice tall trees around me. And we're actually going into a little drainage line as well. And it's the perfect time to be looking for an impala lamb in a tree, or even just a leopard lying in the road.
We are still here, but it's going to be our last segment with our lovely Nsele. But she most definitely will be here tomorrow morning. She's having a look at that hyena behind her. If you recognize that hyena, please let me know. At first I thought it looked familiar, and then I see that its right eye seemed to be blackened and oozing. I don't remember any of our Juma clan to have that. Or maybe it's a new injury on one of the clan males. But if you recognize it, please let me know. I guess in the time to come, we'll figure out whether it is a baby belly or a food belly. But really, really wonderful to see her. Noodle, you'd like to know what the gestation period for a leopard is? It's about 110 days, 3 months. The belly is actually sagging over to one side. I think it's quite cute. It's gotten dark quite quickly with the stormy clouds. I expect there'll be some rain tonight. But we have got to move off, unfortunately. But we'll see her tomorrow in the morning. If not me, then definitely Lauren will. And that is my cue. Alright, guys, let's say good night to her and make our way off Buffelshoek so that other vehicles can come on to Buffelshoek. So we have to think about that too, not just at the sightings. It was lovely to meet you in Sele. Let's find out if they are chameleons on Buffalo's Hook. I'm sure they are. Other signs can you check for pregnancy? Other signs would include phlegm and grimacing, and then using your Jacobson organ to be able to check whether she's pregnant or not. That would be that would be your next option. Apart from that, it's very, very difficult to tell. Also, you no longer have a Jacobson's organ or vomeronasal organ, so we can't do that. But if a male leopard had to come along and smell her urine, they'd be able to tell that she was pregnant. Busy, busy, busy on Buffalo's Hook. Just have a quick go around them. Now we spend the fun part together. Who wants to guess what the fun part is? Trying to figure out our way home from the very, very top of Buffalo's Hook. Well, I guess if we get lost, it doesn't matter because we would find some fun stuff along the way, wouldn't we? Maybe some sort of animal that lives here. Is there something living here? No, it's okay. We find another. Actually can't wait to see what other little creatures we find on Buffalo's Hook on our way home. Quite excited. That was a lovely leopard sighting, short and sweet, and hopefully now I'll find a chameleon to top off our safari cake.
We're also looking for chameleons at Ngala, but I'm hoping for a leopard. It's the perfect time for a leopard to be walking down the road, marking its territory. So I'm actually using the spotlight to have a look if I can see any leopards or any eyes reflecting at me. Any bright green chameleons in the trees. It doesn't seem like an advantage, but it actually is an advantage to be a little bit more cool and windy at this time of the day in particular, because now is the time where leopards start looking for food. So that's what I'm hoping we will get. Leopards are nomadic because it is easier for them to be successful when they're nomadic. So what I mean by that is with lions, they're a lot heavier, they're a lot bigger, and so they rely on the strength in numbers to be able to bring something down. They can't move as fast, they can't go as easily undetected as a leopard. But a leopard has adapted to being nomadic because it's easier to remain undetected by other animals. So on its own, it's got much less of a chance of being seen by things like impalas or even birds, if it's hunting birds or squirrels. And so they've adapted to be able to pull their carcasses up of trees so that they don't have to worry about other animals stealing them. And it also means that they've got a much greater distribution than any of the other big cats or predators in general. Because they can move on their own, they don't often get noticed. And because of that, it means that you might even get them in places like Cape Town or Queenstown or the Eastern Cape, because they're not very easy to contain. But because they're solitary, they would then be able to hide quite easily and move undetected And so it's a massive advantage for them. They're actually more successful than lions, both in terms of distribution and in terms of their success rate with killing and hunting, because they can adapt so well. Also, being smaller, I think it's easier for them to be nomadic. They can move faster, they can move further. It's definitely my favorite big cat. So I'm actually almost back at the Timbavati River, where there's a lot of big trees and where we had tracks of leopards earlier. Francis, nocturnal animals at this time could range from things like honey badgers and even some snake species to things like leopards, hyenas, lions, some of the smaller cats as well, caracals and servals, African wild cats, black-footed cats, black-backed jackals, owls as well. Don't forget about the birds. Owls would love this time of the day. So it really depends, a lot of spiders as well would be nocturnal, so especially things like a community web spider. They only come out to the outside of the nest at night. But there's a whole range, certain insects as well, moths. I think it just depends what you want to look for. Ooh, even striped polecats actually. I've only seen one once before. Pangolins as well, aardvark, some of the rarer ones. I don't know if any of our viewers have been lucky enough to see a pangolin or an aardvark in person. I've been very lucky. I've seen about 6 pangolins. Some people go their entire guiding career, their entire life without seeing one. I've seen 6, but my big goal is to see an aardvark. I've never seen one. So I'm going to keep making my way towards the riverbed, and I'm really, really hoping for one of the cats to pop up.
Ooh, that last minute leopard hope. Certainly something that keeps you going. Hoping for the last minute leopard. I think we got our last minute leopard. Now we're looking for a last minute chameleon. It's quite easy to see them, so you might think, oh, but I'm really going fast to be able to see a chameleon in the bush. But actually, I'm not. Sorry for my glasses, everyone. The only reason that I say sorry is because the light reflects in it, so it might look a bit strange. But my contacts my eyes were not happy with my contacts today. The potential on Buffalo, it feels really good. This potential on Buffalo's like, what could I see? Roaming cheetahs, who knows? Shlangula. Luna, I really want to see Luna. It's not a great chameleon weather day, though, is it? Either way, they still have to be somewhere, generally at the bottom of a tree, where they can be closer to the ground. Gareth, to know if the animals will run away from the vehicle lights. No, not really. I haven't seen it. They may get blinded by them, which actually makes them a little bit dazed and confused, and not makes them kind of stare at you as opposed to run away from you. So that's why we dim our lights when we're close to animals, and that's why generally we don't spotlight on them. I say generally because we don't, but many other game drives or guides do. Bet you thought I saw an animal. No, I was just choosing which road I want to take and hoping that will lead me back onto Djuma. The unfamiliar at night is interesting. I can tell you that I sometimes get the heebie-jeebies from places like Simbambili, but today, not so much. All right, let me try and make my way home.
Welcome back to our nocturnal animal search at Nbiyana. So I am yet to see a cat tonight on this drive with the spotlight. I'm really hoping for one. It has actually been quite a successful day on the cats though, all around I think. So I don't know about any of our viewers, but I really do think that everything looks so different at night. It actually took me a lot longer to learn the roads on the reserve at night than it did in the daytime, because you just can't see all your landmarks, you can't see as far. So personally, I definitely struggled with that a bit more. But I think once you get the hang of it, it becomes a bit of muscle memory. Daniel, you can see pretty far with the torches. With these particular spotlights, you could actually almost see across the riverbed. It might not be that bright on the other side, and that distance is probably at least, in some areas, 70, 75 meters. But I think it would depend on the torch that you're using. If we're looking at this particular spotlight, it looks like it's only very close, but that's because it's quite thick here. So it actually can't go any further. It's not penetrating through the thick layer of bush around the car. But if you go to an open area like the riverbed, then you can actually see quite far. And especially if, you know, you don't necessarily need to see the whole outline with the spotlight. If you can see the eyes reflecting, you can go even further, because the eyes are so good at reflecting light. So then, once you found something, even if it's far away, you can just switch over to the infrared light and get closer, and you can see it perfectly fine. It's actually quite interesting, you know, looking for chameleons at this time of the day is normally quite easy, but we find that in the wind, they hide. Leanne, I hope I find a last-minute leopard or cat sighting as well. That would be an amazing way to end the show tonight. Although I do feel like even these quieter moments, they really do make you appreciate just what's around you. You start taking in the trees, the scenery, the noises, the smells. And it also makes you appreciate that, you know, it is hard work out here, but it's so worth it when you do find something, because you know how hard you have worked for that animal. It makes it all the more special when you find something, because you do realize how rare they are then. I quite like this area that we're in. It's a little area we called Little Kenya here at Nbiyana, because there's always some form of general game here during the day. But it's also just a stunning area because it's so open. It looks nice and different to a lot of the thicker areas on the reserve. Actually might even be difficult on a night like tonight with this wind to find owls, because when it is so windy, chameleons and owls and reptiles tend to hide a bit more. So nocturnal creatures are definitely a bit more difficult to find because of course we can't see everything perfectly clearly. We don't have light in every direction at the same time. But it also means you can't see tracks as easily. And they can also be more elusive. That's exactly why they come out at night, because then they can't be seen as easily. But they're definitely a lot of fun to find when you do find them. I can actually highly recommend, if anyone has trouble multitasking, you should definitely try and become a guide. You learn to talk, drive, use a spotlight and not look at the road all at the same time. Something that took me a while to practice in the beginning. My first 6 months of guiding, I'm sure, were a little less smooth than they are now, which I think is normal for anyone getting used to a new field. Think about how amazing it would be now actually to find, you know, come around the corner and there's a leopard walking down the road, or even a serval. I'd love to see a serval actually. I've only seen, I think, 2 on Ngala, and both, strangely enough, during the day. I'd love to see one at night. I think it's one of my favorite cats because it's so elusive. Hardly anyone actually gets to see them, especially in the low veld where we are here at and beyond Ngala. I feel like it's always an amazing way to end any day actually, is being out in the bush, appreciating the smells. It's nice and cold now. I've actually got a blanket over my legs. I'm wearing 2 jackets. How crazy is that? To think a few days ago it was 44 degrees Celsius. But it's something that, you know, you really do learn to love about being out here, is actually just the changes, the unpredictability. But I think we really have had quite a lucky day today. We've had so many brilliant sightings. But thank you so much to everybody who joined us on safari today. It has been absolutely wonderful as usual driving you all around. And please join us tomorrow morning at 5:30. WildEarth.tv, YouTube, Facebook, and DSTV. Good night.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jambo, Jambo. Welcome in the Masai Mara of Kenya. This morning we have a beautiful sunrise. Welcome aboard to your very own safari, live from the African wilderness.